This is Hemant.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. If you like what you're listening to, please go to patreon.com/friendlyatheistpodcast.
How are you, Hemant?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm good. It's gorgeous outside.
It's better than usual.
God, why do you have to put a bad spin on everything?
It's not a bad spin. I'm excited. I'll go outside this weekend.
That's exciting.
It's been a long time.
I brought Dottie for a run today. She did very good. We went 2 whole miles.
Nice.
So we're pretty professional. Next stop, marathon.
Oh, yeah. It's what, couch to marathon?
Yeah,
That's
we
the
actually
one.
did do the couch to 5K.
Did you really?
Hey, is Jared Kushner going to get arrested soon?
I can't. It's hard to follow for me because it just changes so quickly.
Yeah.
And this is me being pessimistic again. Nothing will happen because nothing ever happens. But when it happens, I'll be the first to celebrate.
Did you hear the White House staff calligrapher has higher security clearance than he does?
I did hear that.
Oh, man. Okay, what is new in...
Let's talk about other shitty things.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me start off by talking about politics since we never do that. In Tennessee, I think we mentioned this on an earlier episode, that one of these state Senate seats in Tennessee is empty now because Donald Trump actually, this is a non-scandalous story.
Okay.
There is a position, a federal position. Donald Trump nominated a guy who's a state senator in Tennessee. He's a Republican, nominated him for that post. Fine. The guy leaves. He goes to take that spot. No big deal. That's an empty seat now. So they're having a special election next week.
Oh, okay.
And this is only going to last, I believe, until November. But whatever. It's a special election. And in 2016, when this seat was actually open, Gail Jordan was the Democrat who ran for that spot. She got crushed. And I don't feel bad about saying that because this is a heavily Republican area. And she knew that. Like, it was more than a 50-point margin of loss. It wasn't even close. But one of the cool things is when you're in a heavily Republican district and you just want to give Democrats an option just so they don't have to not vote and they don't want to vote for the Republican or something. She not only put herself out there, knowing this was an uphill climb the whole time, she was willing to say, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm a public atheist. I am an atheist. Because she runs a group.
This is Tennessee?
Yeah.
Wow.
She runs a group called Recovering from Religion. And they're a group that we've talked about before. They have a hotline if you're struggling with your doubts and you just want to talk to somebody. They have a project called Secular Therapy if you need a therapist who's non-religious. So they do some interesting work for people who are doubting their faith or have left but still need some resources. So she wasn't afraid of connecting the dots there and saying, yeah, that's me. That's the group I work with. Anyway, so now there's a special election coming up. She decided, I know that I lost before, but I'm going to run again because, again, just to give Democrats an option. And you know what?
And stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened since 2016 when he took office. Democrats are riding a wave of sorts. Granted, she may lose, but maybe she'll lose by less. You know, it's one of those things. It's still up in the air. But here's where it gets interesting because you would think Republicans, the leadership in Tennessee, would basically just ignore this race. Their party's going to win. You don't have to put money into it. You don't have to think about it. It's yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should be a gimme if you're a political strategist or something. Well, not that long ago, the state's Republican Party, I think we talked about this, the Republican Party released a statement asking 2 of the Democrats running for governor of Tennessee to repudiate her.
Oh.
Because she was a, quote, radical atheist. I don't know what that means.
Oh, I do.
Yes.
Mean.
Yes, clearly.
Mean to religious people.
Which she's not even. She's not even mean. She disagrees. And that's about the extent of it.
Hemant, if you don't completely agree with somebody, they're being mean to you.
Yeah, clearly. And this wasn't a random person. This was the Republican Party chairman, Scott Golden, saying they should distance themselves from her. Granted, they probably weren't even that familiar with her, but now they had to repudiate her. I don't know if they did. I don't think they did. But it was just a weird thing for the GOP in the state to say.
The GOP was asking Democratic candidates.
Hey, Democrats running for office, you need to, for higher office, repudiate this candidate running for state senate in your party.
An inappropriate thing to do. And why would anybody take what he says seriously? Does he have, Does he
'Cause
hold
he's-
any sway?
Yeah, he's the party chairman of the GOP. He's the head of the GOP in the
But
state.
that doesn't give him the opportunity to order around Democrats.
I think he was just saying you should
What an
if you
idiot.
were, good people.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I thought that was the end of it. And then we'd never hear about this race again until presumably she lost, and that would be the last we hear of it. It's not, because this week someone else chimed in on this race, not Donald Trump, if that's where you were thinking. The lieutenant governor of Tennessee. His
Oh.
name is Randy McNally, which just opens all the jokes about are you an Atlas or
Yikes
something. But
on bikes.
Randy McNally chimed in on social media, and you have to read this Facebook post to really understand just like how crazy it is. In my 40 plus years in Tennessee politics, I've seen few candidates as dangerous as Gail Jordan.
Dangerous.
She is not just out of step with the majority of Tennessee on matters of policy, she's out of step on matters of value and faith. In her daily work, she directs an organization called Recovering from Religion. Most Tennesseans, whether they are strong believers or not, recognize the strength and comfort faith provides. Gail Jordan rejects faith as a positive force for good in the world. She believes faith is something from which people need to be rescued. This is not the type of person we need in the Tennessee Senate. Unquote.
Wow.
Dangerous. What makes her dangerous as not just a regular atheist, you know, but a dangerous atheist?
I actually think about that a lot of like, why are people so freaked out over atheism? I think these are people who genuinely think that if you don't draw your morals from a very specific guideline that they've put out, then you have none. I guess.
I don't think you're
But
wrong.
like, what makes you dangerous?
Like campaign manager is Satan or something like that.
Yeah, I guess I just don't understand. Like, I can say I'm there for like if you were going to say like she's out of step with Tennesseans. Like,
I was going to say, I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, that's fair.
Most of Tennessee is very strongly religious, so you could
that's
argue
fine.
that. Yes,
But to like take one step further and say she's dangerous.
right. I wonder how that would have gone down if she were Jewish or Muslim or Hindu. Like,
Yeah.
because she would also then be
That's
out of
always a
touch with
dangerous
most of Tennessee.
thing.
But you wouldn't expect even a Republican to say that. Most. Some,
I would expect
some.
I would not be
The
surprised.
lieutenant governor.
Of what?
Yeah, of what state?
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to be
Like
mean
it
to
would be a
Tennessee.
different story. I think it would be a bigger story if she were, let's say, Jewish or something. To
Yes.
say, well, she's dangerous. She's not in touch with the rest of
Yeah,
Tennessee.
that is. You know what? I'm actually a little bit alarmed about how little I'm surprised by this. Like, that's kind of a bad thing on my part that I'm not like, that's awful. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're gonna say that kind of shit. Of course you are.
I'm also disturbed by
But that's
McNally's
literally
statement.
religious discrimination. Isn't that the definition of it?
I mean, they're not saying take her off the ballot. They're just saying don't vote for her. So it's not like legal discrimination, but it's a weird thing to
Yeah.
say. I am also bothered by McNally saying, she believes faith is something from which people need to be rescued. Two things. One, Christians try to quote unquote save people all the time. That is literally what they do, evangelicals especially. So they're trying to rescue people like us. So what is this? She wants to rescue people. Yeah, that's literally what Christians are doing. The other thing is
Good point.
her group is not like barging into churches, stealing the children and unbaptizing them with
it's
some
not like
blow
this guy
dryer.
did any research
No,
on it. He
no.
just saw recovering from religion.
Right. To be clear, her organization says, are you having doubts? Have you already decided you don't believe in God? We'll help you out with some resources.
Right.
That's it. That's what they do. That is not, oh, you're religious. Let me change you.
Right.
That's not what they do. So, yes, the ignorance is clear. But it struck me as so strange that why is the lieutenant governor of Tennessee a Republican chiming in on this race that should
That
be
is
a gimme for his
very
party?
weird.
Like, what do you have to warn people about? Are you really scared
Is
of
the
this one?
person running like a Ray Moore type?
A Roy Moore type?
Roy-
No,
God damn it.
I don't think he's insane. I think he's a typical conservative Republican. His Twitter bio says very clearly he's a, quote, conservative Republican candidate for state Senate, Christian family man, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So there's a scandal in his future. Sure. But But whatever. He's a typical what I'd expect from Tennessee.
Yeah, okay, so he's
regardless of
not like
office.
a sort of somebody with a dozen skeletons in their closet that are like peeking out. And
Not
we're
that
like,
I know
we
of
see
yet.
you, skeletons.
The funny thing is, too, like right after a couple weeks ago when the state GOP released their little attacks against Gail Jordan, I think either that night or the day after, she participated in one of those candidate forums. And I watched it. It was half an hour. It was on YouTube. I watched this forum, and it was the most boring thing for an outsider to watch because
Sure.
they just talked about local issues. Like, never once did she say, I'm doing this so that I can, instill atheism into everybody.
Sure.
She's talking about, like, schools and
Which is
roads
the dream.
and stuff, right? So, I don't know.
That's crazy. I think we should keep an eye on that.
Yes. There is something else that happened this week that was also strange dealing with politics.
Okay, good.
And it involved Mike Huckabee, which I don't know why he's still in the news, but he
brother.
is. He was
Wait, is he even anything anymore?
nothing. He's nothing. He's like
He's Sarah's dad.
He's not just a failed political candidate now. He's a failed like Fox News host, though he left, as he says, on his own will.
I would argue he's a failed human being.
Sarah.
Sarah, honey.
Sarah. So he was elected
Blink
to
twice
the
if you need help.
Mike Huckabee was elected to the board of directors of the CMA Foundation, which is the philanthropic wing of the Country Music Association.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
for
this
him.
is a group that mostly does music education in the schools. Like, as far as I can tell, they seem wonderful. Good on them. Cool. So Mike Huckabee gets elected to that board of directors. That was on Wednesday.
Oh, God, what has he done already? It's Friday. What could have happened?
Yesterday, he resigned.
No.
24 hours, not even. He had resigned. What happened in that 24 hours?
Tell me everything.
He didn't do anything.
Oh.
But country music people were furious.
Really?
That the CMA Foundation elected this guy to their board. So one of the guys who really spoke
Doesn't
out.
he, like, jibe with their sort of worldview?
We'll get back to that.
Okay.
Yes, I thought so. I don't know country music. I'm going to admit, my view of country music is mostly based on stereotypes. I don't
Sure.
follow it. So I thought, Mike Huckabee should fit in. This is like him elected to, the board of NASCAR, right? It seems right. But one of the people who spoke out to his appointment to this board was Jason Owen, who's a manager, and he represents people like Little Big Town, Faith Hill. He represents
Faith
some
Hill, I
big
know.
names in country music. He wrote a letter to the foundation saying very clearly, moving forward, his groups, they're called Sandbox and Monument, will no longer support the CMA Foundation in any way.
Whoa.
In parentheses, this includes everyone we represent collectively.
Whoa.
And then he went on to say, as you may know, I have a child and 2 on the way. This man, Huckabee, has made it clear that my family is not welcome in his America. And the CMA has opened their arms to him, making him feel welcome and relevant.
Wait, why? What about his family? Is he gay?
I think he's gay. Not to mention how harmful and damaging his deep involvement with the NRA is. What a shameful choice.
Holy shit.
This was a detrimentally poor choice by the CMA and its leaders. He's not alone. There is a woman, Whitney Pastorek, who manages a person who's in the band Sugarland, who also
I know that
emailed
band
the
too.
executives, who said, what a terrible disappointment to see the CMA Foundation's mission clouded by the decision to align with someone who so frequently engages in the language of racism, sexism, and bigotry.
Holy shit, CMA.
Dude. So
Good for you.
Yeah,
Oh my
these-
God, my heart is swelling 3 times.
these movers and shakers in the world of country music
Yes.
were like, we're not putting up with Mike Huckabee's bigotry, and they're not wrong because he is. I
Yeah,
mean, just
no,
to
he's
give
for
you the
sure a
short
bigot.
laundry list here, he's compared gay marriage to drug use, incest, polygamy.
Mm-hmm.
He supported Josh Duggar during the molestation scandal. He supported Kim Davis when she was refusing to do her job and
Mm-hmm.
give marriage licenses to people. He mocked transgender people as as a thing, as transgender as a thing, saying like, haha, if I were in high school, I would totally call myself trans if I could shower with the girls.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
so he not only mocked transgender people, but also revealed himself to be...
He doesn't think being transgender is a thing.
But he also revealed himself to be a big fucking pervert.
Yeah, totally. He called for the quarantining of AIDS patients.
Yikes.
He said we don't have to worry about climate change because, quote, beheading is a far greater threat to an American than a sunburn. I know.
I never heard that one.
Yeah.
Can you read that again, please? It was so much.
A beheading is a far greater threat to an American than a sunburn. That's what he thinks climate change will lead to a sunburn, not the melting of the world.
Who's doing beheadings? Is that like a terrorism link?
I assume this was something he said when ISIS was a big deal.
I'm crying.
He also thinks the solution to school shootings is more Jesus and more guns.
Sure.
So again, I get why the CMA wanted him, but it is fantastic that so many people spoke out and just said, like, we're not dealing with this. If you want our support, he has to go. And Mike Huckabee resigned and said in his letter he didn't want to be a distraction or a hindrance because he genuinely cares about music education, which, again, Mike Huckabee and education, not really the things that go together in my mind.
Like
but
his version of music education is just like throwing a guitar at a baby. And
and playing gospel
play your
music.
way
I don't
out.
know. Right. But do you remember, like, when Bush was in office and the Dixie Chicks are like, we're ashamed the president is from Texas?
Yeah, there was a song about it. It was
the whole
dope.
Industry is just Dixie Chicks. It's amazing.
Yeah,
they're all
wild.
speaking out against like conservative bigotry and stupid ignorance.
This is really, really shocking. Like, not shocking, but just pleasantly surprising.
Yeah. One of the commenters on my website, Rogue Medic, pointed out, like, it's the liberal redneck, but with different liberal rednecks.
Yeah. No,
referring to the comedian. But
it's so funny because you assume, I guess, like, shame on me for stereotyping country music fans.
Right. And yeah, I could say the same thing to myself as well. Like, maybe this has been going on for a while and I'm not attuned to it because I don't listen to the music. But if it's been happening for a while, like that sort of speaking out, I'm sure some of the bigger stars have been more or less in support of, marriage equality and things that affect a lot of people.
And I know a couple of years ago there was a song called Follow Your Arrow, maybe, but she talked about like, find you a boy or a girl if that's what you're into or something like that. She like gently alluded to like bisexuality or anyway. I guess wow. So I'm curious, has there been any blowback of the fan base of
Not that I've seen. I'm sure there are some people who are fed up with it. I'm sure there are commenters online who are like, why would you accept Huckabee's resignation? You should keep him on. He's the guy who's right on this stuff. And it's
because there are plenty of people who support Huckabee's points of views. And I'm sure the Venn diagram of people who support Huckabee and who listen to country music is broad, to say the least.
Right. So I'm sure the CMA is getting backlash either way, but I'm glad they accepted his decision.
That's really heartening.
By the way, my headline for that story was Mike Huckabee leaves Country Music Foundation after backlash over his bigotry. And another commenter was like, I got very excited when I read Mike Huckabee leaves country.
That's very good.
Very fair.
Very good commenters. I also have a politically leaning story. There is a GOP congressman from Texas. His name is Blake. I think it's Farenthold.
Farenthold?
You say the TH, Farenthold?
Yeah, I think so.
So a couple of years ago, he was accused of sexual harassment by a former female aide. And he he settled with her for $84,000, but he used taxpayer money to settle this lawsuit with
Something
her.
a lot of Congress members had the option to do.
But so now they're coming down a little more strictly on maybe we shouldn't be spending taxpayer money because like these older white dudes can't keep it in their pants. Do you think that's what the bill says?
I think they did change the rules to say, we're not going to let taxpayers cover these expenses.
Right. So the details of the settlement weren't made public until this past December 2017. And he said that he would retire at the end of 2018 and would, quote, immediately repay the money to the Treasury Department. So not upon his retirement, but like nowski.
And how much money are we talking here?
$84,000.
Okay.
So a lot of money, but he's also worth like something in the neighborhood of $6 million. So
he can do it.
Yeah, like it's not like asking me for $84,000. I don't have that. I'm sorry. That's why I don't sexually harass people, because I don't have that kind of money.
Good for you. I'm glad that's the only thing stopping
Thank
you from
Hammond.
the harassment.
I appreciate your support. But he has not sent that check yet, even though he said he would do it immediately.
It's like they think if Trump does it, they can do it too.
It really is this sort of...
Trump doesn't have to pay his bills.
That's the thing, is it's this thing of you can get away with anything if you just like have like the balls big enough to try it. Like I feel like that's what's happening. And I've heard one of the problems with the Trump presidency is a lot of the expectations and things that presidents are supposed to do aren't codified. They're just traditional. And so if Trump is like...
So trying to be a decent human being.
Right.
Nope,
but there's no consequences to like, hey, like Trump is an asshole. Like that's not technically illegal. So I guess there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
But anyway, so this guy is kind of doing the same thing that he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll definitely do it. But what he said is... his office said that he is, quote, waiting to see what changes the House makes to the Congressional Accountability Act before repaying the funds. So the House passed a bill to strengthen an existing law that says that you can't use taxpayer money to...
So what? He's kind of hoping the taxpayers may still have to cover some of it before
Here's
he pays
the
it
thing,
back?
haven't. So in February, they passed the bill to strengthen that law, so it still is bad on his part. And so it says the law provides workplace protection, and it provides workplace protections in Capitol Hill offices, but he's waiting to see if the Senate also passes it and if Trump signs it into law. Here's the thing. This particular bill has no bearing on Farenthold's situation. Even if it doesn't pass, even if it gets killed in the Senate... It's not retroactive. So he still is on the hook to pay this money.
So he has no excuse.
So there's no reason he can't cut a check like right now. So this is what he was accused of. Just so we know who we're dealing with, because I want to make sure we're like clear about what this asshole did. This was his former spokesperson, Lauren Green. She said that Farenthold told another aide that Green could, quote, show her nipples whenever she wanted to, and that he had, quote, sexual fantasies and, quote, wet dreams about her. She said that he was often drunk and flirtatious at work, complained of his sexless marriage, and told her a story of a female lobbyist propositioning her for a threesome. LOL, that never happened. He also... Ew, I'm sorry, I highlighted this and I didn't read it. One aide describes staffers talking about male lobbyists sending them pictures of their genitals and other staffers making lewd comments about female reporters' breast size. So this guy's a fucking scumbag, and the fact that he only has to pay $84,000.
And he's still in Congress.
Until the end of the year.
Right.
Which...
Thanks, Texas.
Why? Like, and it's just...
Al Franken's gone, but that guy's still
that's
in.
That's the thing is, it's...
Uh-huh.
I think you brought this up a while of like, Democrats are always playing by the rules, and even if we have to sacrifice something, and these guys are like, yeah, no consequences. LOL, no. It's just, I find it really frustrating. I think I have another... Do you have any other political stuff?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Let's talk about Billy Graham again. We mentioned him last week because he passed away.
Yes.
What happened this week is that it's not today. Today's Friday. They actually had his family. The family held a funeral for him today. But a couple of days ago, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell actually went through the procedure to give Billy Graham to get his coffin in the Capitol rotunda.
Really?
So that everyone could pay their respects to him.
Who is that usually reserved for?
That's a good question.
It's
reserved for presidents who have died.
Okay.
The only civilians who have had that same honor are like Capitol Police who have died in the line of duty while trying to protect the elected officials, and like Rosa Parks. and now Billy Graham. And so here's the thing. Not only did someone die, so it makes it harder to criticize this sort of thing, but just to be clear, this is a guy who, if you set aside, if you don't care that he helped convert people to Christianity, his contributions involve making life worse for LGBTQ people. He said with Richard Nixon that Jews had a stranglehold on the media.
Right.
When Martin Luther King was in jail, he basically said, you should tone it down to the civil rights people. Like, that's what his legacy includes.
Yeah.
Whatever good stuff you want to say about him, that's what it includes. So the Freedom from Religion Foundation sent a letter protesting this honor. It's fine for Christians to treat this guy like he's a saint. But he wasn't, and it's ridiculous for the government to go through whatever motions it is, because you do have to pay for some of this stuff with taxpayer money to do any of this. On top of that, I would say one more thing about this, which is there was a second story this week as well. I didn't know this until this week, but it's a thing. In the U.S. Capitol, every state is allowed to put 2 statues in the Capitol building in National Statuary Hall. Every state gets 2 statues. If you want to replace
That's
one...
100 statues.
Good job.
Math genius.
If you want to add one, you got to take one down. So Roy Cooper is the current governor of North Carolina. He's the Democrat who won that very tight race, and that was a big deal at the time. Roy Cooper went through... There's a 10-step process to get a new statue in there. They've now gone through the first 2, which is the state's job. And basically he said, we want to have a statue of Billy Graham in the U.S. Capitol building.
Okay.
2 things to mention about this. One is he wants to replace a former governor of North Carolina, Charles Aycock, who is a white supremacist. So that's fine.
Cool.
Take that
We're
guy down.
moving in the right direction.
Billy Graham has some problems. He's not a white supremacist, but he's not exactly like this. He doesn't need a statue in the Capitol. In case you're wondering, he's not the only religious figure. He would not be the only religious figure in there. Brigham Young is a statue that is there.
Wait.
Yep, go
Is it
for
from
it.
Utah?
Good job.
Nailed it.
There's actually, Hawaii has a statue of a Catholic priest, Father Damien. I don't know him as well, but
you don't know him personally?
I don't know what he did. So they're requesting Billy Graham. The other thing is the other statue for North Carolina.
Oh, God.
That guy is Zebulon Baird Vance, another former governor who was a slave owner in the Confederate Army.
Cool.
So that's who Billy Graham would be standing next to.
South is really nailing their legacy as usual.
Man, so I guess the religious right would have the right bedfellow. It shouldn't, again, I don't know why his statue deserves to be up there, because we could argue about the contribution that he has made.
Yeah.
I don't know what that contribution is at a secular level.
I don't know. I mean, he was an advisor to multiple presidents. Like, I don't know.
So have a lot of people.
Yeah, you're right.
He's a spiritual advisor,
Right.
which is fine. He's like, there's been political advisors that have helped both sides of the aisle. But he's not alone in that. He's been around for a while. But really, if he wasn't a Christian, they would not be celebrating him as they do. And granted, he is a special Christian. He reached people in a way no one else did.
Right.
He's universally admired relative to other Christians.
Yeah, this is.
But again, this is just. I don't know if they're violating the law. I don't think it's a violation of the law, but it doesn't make it right.
Yeah, but also this is not something that's going to send me on a rant. Like, yeah, you're right. That's probably not appropriate, but like,
Yeah,
that's my
not
thought on
worked
that.
up about that one.
No,
fair enough.
You want to hear something I can't get worked up about?
Go for it.
So, surprise, surprise. The Trump administration is once again proving really bad for the LGBTQ community. So, according to a few reports, the National Health Department, the Department of Health and Human Services, is taking a lot of steps to roll back and dismantle LGBTQ health initiatives, and this is mostly based on appointees in the Trump administration. So they've rolled back regulations that protect LGBTQ workers and patients, removed, I'm just going to say, queer-friendly language from documents, and reassigned a senior advisor who was dedicated to queer health. They're also changing the agency's queer-related health data collection, which is a window status into health status and discrimination, which is really important because there's a lot of data that suggests that people in the queer community receive less healthcare and worse healthcare than the straights. So here's what's kind of interesting.
So this is Donald Trump's administration, the guy who said, before the election, he'd be a great friend.
Oh my God,
to the LGBTQ. It took him forever to say community.
Yeah, and a lot of people in the queer community were kind of the mind of like, yes, this man is a fucking monster, but he's historically not been anti-gay, I guess is the best way I can couch that. He's not been like a champion of rights, but he's not been like a flaming homophobe.
He lives in New York. He's a reality
star. Do you think he's ever
works...
met anybody in New York? He lives in a tower.
If you're working in reality TV in Hollywood, so to speak,
right.
Well, you know some people.
Well, Duck Dynasty.
Yeah.
So Kellen Baker is a researcher at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, and he worked with the HHS, the Department of Health and Human Services, on queer issues for nearly a decade. And he said, quote, "It's only a matter of time before all the gains made under the Obama administration are reversed under the Trump administration for purposes that have nothing to do with public health and everything to do with politics." So here's what's interesting about all of this, is the director of the HHS, his name is Alex Azar, A-Z-A-R. Mm-hmm. And he has a background of being pretty supportive of the queer community. He used to lead U.S. operations for the pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly, which has been hailed by the HRC for its pro-queer policies. He also opposed an Indiana religious liberty law championed by Pence. And so it would seem that putting this man in this particular position would at least stymie the rollback of any queer-friendly policies. But the staff inside the health department have raised concern about several other Trump appointees now in senior roles who had a history of anti-LGBTQ comments before joining the agency, such as Roger Severino, a former Heritage Foundation official who said that the Supreme Court's 2015 decision on same-sex marriage was wrong and warned of its consequences. Oh no.
There's a group called the Log Cabin Republicans,
yes.
like the pro-gay Republicans, and they're still on board the Trump train even now. And every time you point out things like the stuff you're saying, they're just like, no, it's fine. It's not really as bad as you think it is. It's okay given everything else he's doing.
Yeah.
It is baffling to me how anyone didn't see this coming. I mean, every liberal will tell you, like, we saw this coming a mile away. So where were you when this discussion was happening?
Right, because it's not like Trump has any, like, strong moral foundation. So all he's going to be doing is listening to the Paul Ryans of the world and doing what they say, because he doesn't know anything else. Mm-hmm. So this, what did I say his name was?
Azar?
No, Severino. Roger Severino. Yeah. He said, in 2016, same-sex marriage is merely the start, not the end of the left's LGBT agenda. The radical left, I love when they call us the radical left.
Again,
it makes me very cool. The radical left is using government power to coerce everyone, including children, into pledging allegiance to he likes the word radical, a radical new gender ideology over and above their right to privacy, safety, and religious freedom. So he said that in 2016, so that was less than a year before he was appointed to his current position. But now he says statements I've made in the past are not binding on what I do in my role as a public servant. What I'm guided by and what I'm required to follow is the law. I'm dedicated to treating everyone fairly in accordance with the law, which, lol. And Severino has bragged that in April 2017, he set up a listening session, which we just recently saw a listening session.
Oh, right, about the guns and everyone at the round table.
Super effective and anyway.
All for show.
Yes. So he set up a listening session with a dozen LGBTQ advocates, as well as several follow-up conversations with medical experts. An agency spokesperson said the outreach has been significant. But nearly all of those LGBTQ advocates said they've essentially been ignored since sitting down with Severino nearly a year ago. Quote, there's been no communication since then through all the channels that he and his staff know how to reach us. Said, this is Mara Yodelman, Youdelman, of the National Health Law Program, who attended last year's listening session.
So basically, they're doing nothing. They're not.
It was all for show. It was a one-shot deal. All their actions speak much louder than their words in one listening session.
Surprise.
So you're right, Evan. This is shit we saw coming a mile away. And that's why I find it really frustrating to kind of circle back on what people were saying in 2016 of oh, never Hillary, or it won't be that bad, or what. And I feel like people who said that.
Right. Anyone on the fence. I mean, it's one thing for conservatives to do that,
right.
But yeah, if you're a Democrat or you're on the fence about it, or you thought Hillary would let this stuff happen, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's the thing is even in my worst nightmares of what Hillary could be as a president, which I admit aren't vivid and something I think about a lot. I think she'd have been a good president. I don't know what people were afraid of that Trump isn't in spades.
Right.
What, I mean, I guess.
If your worry was oh, she's not good at security, hey, let me introduce you to a bunch of people who don't have security clearances.
Right. Or maybe she's too hawkish and they're afraid that she'll get in war. Trump is baiting people on Twitter, baiting world leaders on Twitter. I just find that sort of...
It's almost like the people who didn't vote for Hillary just didn't do their research and didn't care.
Or aren't personally at risk by these policies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me personally, as a white, middle-class person, I probably am not personally going to lose a ton under a Trump presidency, but, that doesn't mean I can't look around and be hey, person next door to me who's an immigrant, I'm going to, try to... watch your back too, buddy.
I would argue with that. I think you do stand to lose a lot in terms of being a woman, in terms of whatever jobs and your taxes, that stuff is going to get affected. Healthcare, whatever. A lot of people are going to lose, and a lot of people don't even know how badly it's going to hit them. By the way, for the website, we just did an interview with the person who runs a group called Republican Atheists, because they're about to turn 1 year old. And because the group was created last year. And David McAfee, who writes for the site, he did the interview with her. And basically the question is, all right, it's been a year and all this shit has happened. Are you any closer to admitting Donald Trump is bad? Certainly on matters of church-state separation.
Pro-Trump?
They're pro-Trump. But that was, again, last time we talked to them was about a year ago, when just after he was inaugurated.
Give him a chance.
So now we're okay, well, now you've seen all the church-state separation stuff, the repeal of the Johnson Amendment, the religious right, basically.
Just the cow-tying to the religious
everywhere,
right.
Yeah. And no, they doubled down on everything Trump did.
Fuck
They're
out, really?
Totally fine. Everything that seems bad for church-state separation, they play down as not a big deal. And they're whatever is happening is worth the trade-off for all the other stuff he does. Jesus. It's incredible, the amount of ignorance.
Oh, my God. That's really disappointing.
Here's one for you from Michigan. Remember the Larry Nassar scandal? He's the gymnast coach, the doctor.
I watched that whole thing.
The former physician for the gymnastics team in Michigan State University. He's the guy that during his sentencing hearing, all these former athletes or current athletes testified about how he abused them, what it did to them.
It was heart-wrenching.
He did that when many of them were minors, too. So he'll be in prison for life. One of the ways Michigan legislators have responded to that whole situation is... No, it's okay.
Okay.
They tried...
I'm so
they
nervous.
have proposed legislation that would extend the statute of limitations for victims of criminal sexual abuse. Because now,
finally,
as it stood, I think you had to be if you were 19 years old and this happened at a certain age, you could only have until your 19th birthday to sue if you were abused as a child. And if, let's say, you were 20 and now you're ready to come forth and talk about
There's
the abuse,
no legal
there was no
ramifications.
legal recourse for you.
Yeah.
So this legislation says if you were a child abused in 1993 or later, whatever the age of a child is today or something,
Oh, I see,
whatever,
yeah.
however it affects you. Now you could sue until your 48th birthday. Those
That
assaulted...
feels arbitrary.
There's a reason for it. I don't know what it is. But those who were assaulted, criminally, sexually assaulted as an adult, maybe you were 20, maybe you were 30, whatever, you would have 30 years to file a claim from the time of abuse.
I guess
really
48 is 30
extends the
years from the
window.
time you're 18. So
Yeah,
that's probably why they picked that.
Yeah, it really does extend
Do you
the statute.
understand statutes of limitations?
Like why they exist?
Yeah.
I could offer a guess as to why, but like I'm not going to try to because there are lawyers who probably knows
could
better.
somebody email me and explain it to me? Because I find them very frustrating to deal with. And yeah.
So, but overall, this sounds like sensible
guys,
legislation,
be nice.
right?
Be nice to me.
This sounds like sensible legislation, yes?
Who's
Guess
against
who's against it?
Larry Nassar. Trump.
The Catholic Church.
I just went through so many emotions just now. I hope you could hear that on mic. I was shocked, and then I was mad, and then I was like, yeah, of course.
So
Of
any
fucking
legislation that would allow child sex
my
abuse
God.
victims to go after their abusers long after the crime has occurred is really bad for the church. And so one of the Michigan Catholic Conference spokesmen said this week that the new legislation is, quote, of concern to them, but they're not going to give further comment until they have a chance to like fully review it.
Sure.
There's nothing to review, by the way. I just told you everything about the bill. My favorite line is one of the Republican Senate Majority Leader in the state said, the church is confused. I'm going to wait till you finish that sip before I keep talking. He's concerned that the statute of limitations bill for the church could, quote, open up other things that have been closed. And then this is the Republican Senate Majority Leader. I think they have some valid concerns. He didn't say that he's going to change the bill. That pretty much, I think, has bipartisan support. But he's like, yes, I see where they're coming from.
What fucking monsters.
What reason is there?
Oh my God. Like, how do these people look at themselves in the fucking mirror and they're so concerned that a priest is going to like get a slap on the wrist, which historically, I think only one priest has gone to jail for molesting kids.
I don't know the answer to that.
I feel like I mean,
But
I was going to say, I feel like I read
Michigan-
about this like 6 years ago.
The Michigan Archdiocese or the whatever city Archdiocese, they have paid out millions of dollars to settle a lot of these suits. And obviously their worry is if this law passes and all these other people
Then there's
going to
be real consequences to their behavior.
Yeah,
God
then they'll have to
fucking
pay out more
forbid.
money. To which the
dare
proper response
they?
is thoughts and prayers.
How fucking dare they? These goddamn monsters. Not only have they participated in this history of covering up systemic abuse, but now when we're in a moment in American history that victims are being heard and being believed in their consequences, they're so fucking scared that these people, I keep licking my microphone because I'm talking at it so hard, that there's going to be actual consequences, and that's so terrifying to them. And that is more important to them than victims being heard, than victims getting justice, than victims getting the ability to look at their accusers in the eye and say, you did this to me, and now I can move on and get some closure on this. Like, these guys
This
are
is the same church, by the way,
monsters.
that opposes like LGBTQ rights.
Yeah,
because that's going to harm
that'd be
children.
unethical. Those motherfuckers. Oh my God. Catholics.
You want a happier story?
I guess.
Oh, too bad. I don't actually have. No. Here's one. Here's the sad part of the story. Kevin Smith, the director of
he had
a bunch
heart
of movies.
attack.
He had a heart attack. It's such a bad type of heart attack. It's called the Widowmaker.
Yeah.
But he survived it.
Yes.
He's
I'm
in the
very
hospital.
relieved about that. I like Kevin Smith a lot.
Yeah. He posted about the ordeal after he had recovered, or he was in the hospital anyway, dealing with the aftermath.
Is he still Catholic?
I don't think he is. But Chris Pratt, the actor from Parks and Rec and
Yeah.
like all the movies of the things I've never seen.
Jurassic World.
Never heard of it.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nope.
Also, I'm rewatching Parks and Rec. God damn it, that
Also
is a
never
fine.
seen it.
You've Heaven, it's so good. It's like my comfort food. It makes me so. It's just like
Is
really.
it on MSNBC?
Nobody. It's on Netflix.
Why are we friends?
I don't. Honestly, Heaven, right now, I don't know. Go ahead.
So Chris Pratt.
Wait, hold on. Quick sidebar. At some point, this is going to go over your head, but people are going to like this. Leslie Knope is the main character in Parks and Rec. It's played by Amy Poehler. Good job. And at one point, the NRA tweeted something and included a Leslie Knope GIF on it.
It's a GIF.
Okay. First of all, how dare you?
I did see this.
First of all, how fucking dare you? And all like Adam Scott, who's one of the main actors in it, a couple of the writers and producers were like, "Get the fuck!" Like how dare you? Because it's like the worst character in television they could have used is like Leslie Knope, who is this idealistic, loves government, loves helping people, like anti-violence, and everyone's like. I think Adam Scott was like, get this the fuck out of here. Like, he was so mad about it, and rightfully so. Like, how dare you use this? Okay, say your thing now.
Oh, right. So Chris Pratt chimes in, who is very religious and openly so, said on Twitter, Kevin, we don't know each other too good, but I've loved you since Clerks, and I'm praying my ass off for you because I believe in the healing power of prayer. Can you please pray with me, people? He added, blah, blah, blah. More stuff about prayer. Here's the thing. Of a handful of people, and this is Twitter, you could find people to say anything.
Right.
But a handful of people were pissed off that he was basically saying, like, prayer will make Kevin Smith better. I have to assume some of these people are atheists.
Yeah.
And the thing is, obviously...
we can be pretty awful on Twitter as a people.
Right. Chris Pratt, here's the difference to me between what Chris Pratt was saying, that I believe in the healing power of prayer, so I'm praying for you, others should join me. The difference between that... and let's say a Republican politician saying, I offer you thoughts and prayers after a school shooting.
Is that Chris Pratt is an actor and cannot pass legislation?
That is one.
Okay.
Also, Chris Pratt, I don't think, nothing about his tweets gives me the sense that he was implying that, like, the doctors shouldn't be there, that they don't deserve the credit. It's more of I'm religious, I want you to get better, this is how I speak.
Yeah.
No,
because he didn't say, I don't think, thank God... I'm thankful that God saved you or whatever. He just said, I'm praying for you to recover, right?
Yeah, and the healing power of prayer is, I think, what ticked a lot of people off. But he's not saying don't go to the doctors, don't listen to their advice, don't take whatever medicine or drugs they give you. No, he's just saying he's praying for you, as opposed to the Republicans who are like, thoughts and prayers because we're not going to do any legislation, pass any legislation that might actually help you. So this should placate you for a little while. I was happy to see a lot of people, though, including atheists, understand that distinction. And most of them are like, all right, I mean, the prayer's not going to help, but you do you. And I even Kevin Smith posted a video where he was telling his fans, giving them an update on how everything's going. Even he was like, guys, lay off of him.
Yeah,
he
that's
said,
garbage.
Quote, please don't fight over stuff like that. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's saying he appreciated, the gesture.
Yeah.
Yes, and he's right. Save the criticism for people who deserve it.
For sure.
People who simply say, I'm praying for you, regardless whether it's a personal thing or to a celebrity, they mean well. That's how they talk. That's different than... don't go to the doctor because God will heal you or something like that.
God, that's crazy. I really like Kevin Smith a lot. I liked his movies growing up. Have you seen any of them?
I'm sure I've seen it. I know I've seen Dogma a long time ago. I've seen a couple of them. One thing I do remember is whenever Prince died, there was a video circulating on the internet that Kevin Smith gave a lecture, and at some point someone asked him about Prince for some reason that made no sense to me.
Okay.
And Kevin Smith told this like 20-minute story about Prince and making a documentary or a video for him. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
And it was just funny, and it was fun to just listen to him talk.
But yeah, like Dogma was a very like formulative movie for me as a kid, which is weird because I was not religious at all, and so like watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh, I didn't get 90% of these jokes.
I'm sure if I watched it today, I would pick up on a lot more stuff that I didn't understand.
Because he was, if he wasn't Catholic, he was certainly religious because he talked about it a lot. But he like did not hold it. Like George Carlin played a corrupt cardinal, and it was just like, anyway, it's one of those movies that my friend and I used to watch in her basement because everybody in the Midwest has a basement, and I probably still know all the words. Anyway,
I had one more story that I wanted to mention.
1, 2.
Oh my God!
3.
Look at you with papers.
I know. I have 5 pages.
This is going to be a short one, but
Okay.
it's the weirdest lawsuit I saw this week. It involves a graduate of Louisiana College, which is a private Baptist school.
Okay.
Basically, this guy was a assistant football coach there, and then he left to pursue grad school, coach somewhere else. But basically, the only reason he pursued grad school is because they said, if you want a job here when you come back, we have it saved for you. And so he applied for this job to be a certain type of coach, and he didn't get the job. And according to the lawsuit, the reason he didn't get the job, even though he is Christian and devoutly so, and no one's denying this, is that the school's president rejected his application because of his, quote, Jewish blood. His mother is Jewish, even though he is a practicing, believing Christian. And according to the lawsuit, that's why the president said no, because his mom is Jewish. The school won't comment on the lawsuit because there's a lawsuit, though they denied that this is
my
the situation.
God. I'm sorry I haven't said anything in like 30 seconds. It's the longest I've ever gone without talking.
Yeah.
The
school called it meritless. The chairman of the board of trustees said the lawsuit was meritless.
I'm sorry, is Jewish blood a quote?
Quote, in the lawsuit, according to the Bonadonna, the guy who's trying to get the job, he said that was the reason he was rejected based on conversations he had or whatever.
I'm sorry.
You know who else had Jewish blood? Jesus. Like, it's just a weird thing.
For some reason, I was going to say Hitler. I don't know why.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Whatever you were about to ask, I was sure the answer was going to be Hitler. I'm sorry. I just found the term Jewish blood really jarring for some reason.
Somehow, like, it's out of nowhere and yet totally offensive.
Yes.
Just out of nowhere.
It feels like...
Didn't see it coming.
It feels like a 17th century insult, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Like, you have a drop of blood in you, therefore we must get rid of you. And again, the guy himself says, no, I'm a believing Christian. There's no one's doubting that. So, like, according to this guy, like, he didn't get the job even though they knew he was a practicing Christian. Like, what does it make a difference what your parents believe? And if anything,
it should be
I would think a Christian
case.
School would give this guy some credit for distancing himself from his parents' faith.
Flabbergasted by that.
So again, it's a lawsuit. We haven't heard both sides necessarily. I don't know how it plays out, but man.
Okay, so I've got a couple more we can run through before we get to listener mail. Kim Davis wrote a book.
I ordered it first day.
Did you?
I'm waiting for it to come in the mail.
Oh my God. Is it going to be like pamphlet length, do you think?
She's supposedly, her and her co-writers / ghostwriters / there's no way she wrote a book.
I think I want to be a ghostwriter. I think that sounds like a really fun job.
One of the people I blog with on Patheos is a ghostwriter, and she's very good at her job, even though she ghostwrites for a lot of Christians stuff. But she's really good at it, and she's very behind the scenes when she does it.
Yeah,
so it's interesting.
It just sounds very exciting.
I don't know if Kim Davis wrote it, but I'm very curious how she explains the 4 marriages.
Oh my! I don't think she's going to discuss them at all. But I just really want to read. I got this from Joe My God, and just the press release that Liberty Counsel dropped it's just so beautiful. It's quote, in this amazing narrative of redemption and courage, Davis details her personal experience from the moment Kentucky's governor ordered the state's county clerks to issue same-sex marriage license throughout her arrest and release from jail. Governor Mike Huckabee said, "It's a great read, but more than that, this remarkable story of what God did in Kim's life gives me hope for our nation. And I think it will give you hope, too." Mm-hmm. Franklin Graham, CEO of the Billy Graham Evangelical, speaking of which, Evangelicalistic Association? Is that what? Evangelistic. Can you cut that out?
No.
Oh, fuck. Called Kim Davis. Yeah, we don't know how to edit. Called Kim Davis one tough lady. And he said that in a culture that demeans people who obediently follow Jesus, Kim Davis drew on his strength as she experienced and endured persecution from the culture, the court, and the crowds. That's actually pretty good alliteration. Good job. and survived to tell about it.
Yes, the gays were going to stone her. She's so brave for denying other people their rights. This is like going to like the civil rights like sit-ins at restaurants and saying this diner owner who said black people couldn't sit here deserves an award. Let's hear his side of the story.
The activist mommy.
By the way, we will post a review as soon as I get my hands on this thing.
Oh my God.
I ordered it as soon as I got that press release.
I don't know if I could read it.
I was like, it's worth the cost because...
Oh, you didn't even get like a presser?
No.
Oh, man.
They announced it was available the second they announced it existed. Like no one, I don't know that it was even in the works.
There wasn't like a pre-order opportunity?
No. And they didn't do it on Amazon either. This is, you got to go through Liberty Counsel to get it.
Why would you give them money?
Same reason I give the Creation Museum money, because I think it's worth it if by telling you this is what's in this book and it's batshit crazy. If that's the case, who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised.
Don't judge it before you read it. Hammett. That's irresponsible.
I would rather tell you here's what's in it and here's why it's crazy, if that's the case, and it'll prevent you all from having to waste the money yourself. It's a risk I'm willing to take on behalf of the world.
Hammett, who's the real hero now?
I know.
One last quote, Elizabeth Johnston, who's the activist mommy. Quote, while the Church of Jesus Christ slumbers comfortably in their padded church pews, Kim Davis went to bat for us all by challenging the seats of political power, going to jail for her faith, and ultimately planting a stake in the ground for religious freedom. My children and I will always admire her.
I always want to know about her. She has 10 kids. Where does she have time to post on Facebook so much? Because I have... 2, and if they're around,
you
I'm
make
getting
an hour a week
done.
to hang out with me, Hammett.
Well, they're in the car. They'll be fine. But
is the window cracked?
Nah.
Don't want me to send the dog out to...
You know why I'm so pessimistic all the time?
Because you have 2 children and they sucked it out of you.
That too. I made the dumb mistake of...
having children.
I want to follow activist mommy. So she pops up at the top of my news feed every time I open Facebook, and it's always just like, son of a... Oh, and I scroll down and I just get angry until I see some random friend post.
Oh, yeah.
Why did I just set that default to just show up on my feed so I could hate read her?
Yeah, I walk a fine line with hate reading. Like, I had to unfollow Beth Presswood, who's a former podcaster, because she, like, always posts shit about, like, just like garbage that the right posts.
All the stuff we're talking about now.
But like I just couldn't deal with it like in my newsfeed every day. It just became a little too much for me.
So now you do it once a week.
Now I do it once a week, and I have a happy playlist that I play while I put this stuff together.
Yes.
1 or 2 more I don't remember. Oh, yeah, this is whatever. Alex Jones is being sued. That he was
Thoughts
racist,
and prayers.
Racist, anti-Semitic, groomed a staffer for sex and grip someone. There was a Jewish fella who worked for him, and he was called the resident Jew. So that's cool.
Why is none of this surprising
that was
in the least?
Rob
if you
Jacobson.
told me,
I mean, live by the sword, die by the sword.
If you told me Alex Jones was sued, can you guess why? I'm pretty sure I would have said everything you just said.
What? But really, like, I feel like there's I think I would have guessed he got sued for like shooting somebody in the street because like they were white but they had a shadow on their face and so he just thought they were black and shot them like that. that's what I would have guessed. So that was Rob Jacobson is the resident Jew, which is super chill of Alex Jones.
So we'll see where that one goes.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Alex Beckford, who worked for Free Speech Systems, she said that, she's black. She is black, I should say. I was subjected to different terms and conditions of employment in comparison to my non-black African-American peers when it came to my salary, wages, benefits, and in regards to my dress, including my hairstyle. She's also subject to harassment and racial slurs by management and colleagues. She was mocked for her skin tone. She was called a coon.
My God.
Denied promotions to match the salary of other coworkers. She also said that Alex Jones constantly talked about her body and said that this is crazy. Okay, it was my opinion that it was his intention to see if he could groom me for sexual exploitation, which gross, but are you ready for this? Hold on to your butt. Alex often spent his time shirtless and endlessly leering with or without a shirt at female guests and employees while creating a disgusting, hostile environment. Is that the worst sentence you've ever heard?
Yeah.
Like Alex Jones. Just, oh my God. So that happened. Oh, and last thing before we get to listener mail, this is actually kind of positive.
Yes.
So a student at Brigham Young University created a guerrilla art project because she was troubled by the lack of female representation she was seeing on campus. And I think this is a really cool little thing that she did. So this woman's name is Allison Adams. She's a senior, an education major. So she's taken an art education class, and they were supposed to create guerrilla art, which, if you don't know, guerrilla art is just sort of art that's out in the world and not that you have to like go see it. So like, I guess graffiti would be the easiest example of guerrilla art.
Pull a Banksy.
Yeah. She's the Banksy of BYU. So when she was assigned what she wanted to do, she was exploring female representation on the campus. And she did some research, realized out of 113 buildings that were listed on the website, but I've heard people say that they're like up to 300, so I'm not sure what the number is. But everybody agrees only 3 were named after women, which isn't a great percentage. And she was interviewed, and she's like, and one of them is like in a basement. So, so what she did was and I will say, like, the quality of execution wasn't super strong. Like, she printed out papers and put them in like plastic sleeves, like you put in a binder. But she took these and she taped them onto statues and building names. And they would usually they would say something to the effect of, "Where's my statue?" or "Where's my building?" You know, quoted as the female LDS scholars and leaders. She also, the one that I could find, the one statue depicting a woman is called First Child. It was designed by Dennis Smith in 1979. It's a mother and father holding their kid's hand.
Okay.
And she taped up it commemorated the 150th year of the church, which I forget how young Mormonism is, and it blows my mind. She taped a sign to the woman that said, "Women are more than mothers," which is really cool. And so, it was a lot of work. Where's my statue? Yeah. So this is what she said. "It just seems like women are almost an invisible population in terms of representation, invisible manifestations around campus. Within our BYU community and church community, we talk about all of these great men who have done wonderful things, but we forget about the women who are there too." Alicia Gray was Adams' teacher for this class, and she collaborated strongly with her before she went out and did it. She says, quote, "Adams wanted to explore the idea that she did not see herself or other women in the sculptures around BYU campus. We talked about ways in which she could invite the viewer to talk differently about the sculptures on campus. She wanted students to see what was not there as well as what was there."
Good.
So it was
that
really
sounds
cool.
like a clever project.
Yeah, they got a lot of them got ripped down pretty quickly, but I think it's a really good use of like that kind of guerrilla art.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I thought that was a neat story.
And we had a viewer question.
Listener. We don't have viewers. Nobody can see me.
Thankfully. For me too. I was going to say.
That's rude. We kind of match though.
We kind of do.
Did you go running today too with your dog?
No.
When's the last time you went running?
Long time ago. Screw it. I don't need to move anymore.
You've contributed. You've had children.
I'm done.
You pass everything to them.
Yep.
Okay, so this is from Bob. Are we going to do last names? Bob T, I'll say.
Bob T, hi.
Bob T. I don't have where you're from, but that's okay. Dear Hammond and Jessica, I downloaded your podcast weekly, and it's my favorite of all the atheist-related podcasts. Oh, thank you.
I like how you write your own questions.
What? Oh, fuck you. How dare you? We got a really nice email today of somebody else doing the same thing. Like, I used to listen to other atheist podcasts, but I like yours. And God, it stoked my ego in the way I needed. Yikes. As I'm sure you know, the American Atheist Convention will be in OKC. That is Oklahoma City.
Yep.
I knew that. I just wanted to make sure you did. At the end of March, and seeing as how I live about 3 hours away in Arkansas, I'm seriously considering attending. My question, which I hope you'll address, is what can be expected at these types of gatherings, and are they worth attending. Thank you, Bob T.
Let me give you two answers to that one. One is, yes, if you can make it to any of them, not just American Atheists, but the American Human Association, FFRF, or any of the regional conferences that go on in a lot of big cities everywhere, yeah, you should go. Here's why it's useful for a lot of people. You get to hear speakers who can hopefully eloquently talk about things that maybe you've thought about, but you can't really, you've never been able to articulate it really. And here are these people talking about this stuff that you think is right. But man, when people talk about this stuff and they know what they're talking about, it's powerful to hear, wow,
very
you make
energizing.
sense.
Yeah.
And in a lot of places, you don't get to hear those sensible voices all the time. If you're interested in atheism, it's also cool to see, what people are doing with that in different realms. If they're artists, if they're activists of some sort, politicians of some sort, it's really neat to see that. So it's definitely inspiring if you don't get your fill of that in your regular life, in a sense. It's also awesome because you get to meet a ton of other people who are like-minded, which is no small thing. I mean, if you're religious, you get to go to church like all the time, and you are surrounded by people who think like you. In a lot of places, if you're an atheist, you are not surrounded by people who are openly atheists. So it's so cool to be able to hang out with people who maybe come from similar types of communities, and you get to talk and meet other atheists. And if you don't do that already, that is a huge deal. That's all the good stuff about it. One of the stuff I've heard in recent years, obviously, we talked about Lawrence Krauss last week, is there's this aspect of it's a bunch of people hanging out with alcohol in some cases because it's at a hotel. Are there maybe going to be creepy people there? Yeah, there might be, because those people exist in a lot of different areas. I would just keep that in mind, in the sense that I would never say don't attend any of these things because there might be this stuff that happens, because then I would say never leave your house.
Yeah.
But if you're going there for the reasons of, I want to meet other atheists, I want to talk to other atheists, I want to listen to people who might be able to make me feel comfortable with these thoughts that I have. Oh my God, it's such a life-changing thing, especially if you haven't done it before.
Yeah.
Both of us have been in this sort of subculture for a long time. We've been to these events.
Can we go? Oklahoma is
it's like an hour away, right?
11 and a half hours.
Close enough.
We can do that. That's like 10 episodes of This American Life.
Sure. But those, I would go if I could. These are awesome events. Yeah. And a lot of activists that I know have been inspired in part because they attended one of these things. And again, even if the conference isn't there, or you can't afford it, or whatever the reason is, there are probably meetup groups in your community that don't require money that are just as inspiring. Yeah. It's more of a just surround yourself by people who are sensible and rational about this stuff, and that can make a huge difference. So to the reader, to the listener, yes, go if you can. That is an awesome thing to do.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend enough. I've really not been to a ton of these conferences. I went to 2 TAMs, now defunct, an American Atheist Conference when I was in Memphis. And then what did we go to that was in Chicago? Was it Humanist Association?
Yeah, the American Human Association, which switches cities every year, just like American Atheists.
Yeah, that was great. But anyway, I mean, I can't say enough good things about him, but I'm also a very, very social person. And I went with my now husband to at least the two TAMs. So that kind of takes the pressure off. But I went to the American Atheist one alone, and I met a ton of friends, but that's also sort of like my favorite thing, is to get drunk and make friends with people.
Yeah.
So it sort of tracks that. But man, I have so much fun at those. The community is so great. There's just something really special about being especially if you don't have that in your daily life.
And American Atheist, more than other groups, tries to set their conferences in cities where there's probably, it's not known for having a lot of atheists, but because of that, there probably are a lot of atheists.
Exactly. And
so Oklahoma City, Nashville, where they went to recently, those
Memphis
are cities that make
yeah.
sense.
I don't know. I have so much fun, and I've met friends that I still talk to all the time there. It's just, I love going to them. If you are the kind of person who either wants to go and meet new people and interact with people who maybe have similar viewpoints, or just want to make new friends, or if you want to like see the speakers and hear what they have to say, because there's some really compelling speakers that go there. I couldn't recommend.
I know American Atheist this year has Hugh Laurie, who played Dr. House.
What?
Yep.
Hammett, can we go?
Yeah, you first.
I'll go. Will you pay for it?
No.
Hammett, it's for the podcast. The people want me to go, Hammett. The people want me to interview Hugh Laurie.
I will do my best to make it happen.
You're such a fucking liar. How dare you?
Am.
Fine. That's fine. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. That was really a bummer to end this show on, that Hammett said no to me. Mm-hmm. Hey, Hammett, what's your happy thing for this week?
It's nice out. Maybe I'll leave the house for once this year.
God, you have the worst happy things.
You know what I finally got? You're going to love this.
What?
I ordered it for Christmas, and I said, just give it to me in March. I don't want it right now.
To whom?
To me and my wife. Movie Pass.
Really?
I know. So now we could see all the movies all the time from my current amount of movie watching, which is none.
Yeah.
To
0.
Here's the question, though.
Yeah.
We're all familiar with the Olive Garden fiasco. How many movies will I actually see to make it worth?
Well, how much was the pass?
30. It was 3 months. So that's $30. I'm allowed to see one movie a day for 3 months. If I go 3 times, it pays for itself.
Yeah.
Will I go 3 times?
Well, if you don't, Mikey and I will. Oh, we should go on a double
I don't know.
date, Hammett.
I don't think they allow transfers.
Well,
Now, we could still go.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
we can hang out and be friends.
What? Maybe. I'll bring the recording equipment to the theater.
Just get our reactions to whatever movie.
I don't know what movies are out.
Yeah, Mikey and I did a good job. I've seen most of the Best Picture nominations. Those are Oscars are Sunday. I'm pretty excited about that. Oh, happy birthday, by the way. You know what? Thank fucking God for social media, because I'm on Time. You know, Time Hop. It's like it sends you
the Facebook one.
It's like its own app. So it's like this day in history. You tweeted this. You Facebook posted this.
Why do I want to remember any of that?
Well, I tweeted something really nice to you like 3 years ago, and then I saw it. I was like, "Is it fucking Hammond's birthday again?" Because literally we recorded the day before, and I was like, "What are you up to this weekend?" He's like, "Nothing."
That was accurate, by the way.
But happy birthday,
thank you,
buddy!
Thanks.
Yay, 35. You can run for president, right?
Yes.
Nice.
That's how I'll celebrate.
Run for president. Hi,
Done.
Daddy just woke up from her nap.
Hello, Daddy.
That was appropriately the length of us recording. My happy thing was that my friend. Okay, so I got it in my head that I wanted to start running again this year.
Yes.
Because I used to run pretty regularly and then I stopped. But so I was like, okay, I'm super good. I have friends who are like intense runners, so they've inspired me. And the last 2 weeks has just, it's my dog park friends. No brag, our dogs are friends. But like every other day, I'm like, oh, I ordered a harness for Dottie so she can run with me. Oh, I got this leash from IKEA. Oh, I got new shoes. And they're like, are you ever going to actually run, or you're just going to like collect accessories? And I did. I finally went for my first run today. I went to Dixon's because they did that.
NRA were not selling guns to like under 21.
Right, exactly. And I think they said they weren't going to sell assault rifles, period. I don't know. I didn't do a ton of research, but I just knew conservatives were really mad about it. So I bought my shoes there. Spent way more money than I intended to, but they're very comfortable. They're Nikes. So, but anyway, I went my first run today. It's gorgeous out. I really need to figure out where I can run in my neighborhood, because I just kind of ran in circles because I don't know my way around, even though I've lived here a year and a half. And it was really nice. I'm thrilled that the weather is finally breaking and that it's light past 5:30.
I know,
That's a big deal. My brother's coming over tomorrow night. I'm going to meet his new girlfriend who's afraid of me, so I'm pretty into that.
Break out the atheism talk.
Yeah, we'll see. I just like when people are intimidated by me.
Nice.
It means a lot.
You could find me at Hemameta on Twitter.
I'm at Blueberry, BLUEBURIE. Bitches Get Stitched Done is my Etsy shop if you want to cross stitch. I'm open for custom work right now, like a new fun project.
Patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast if you like what you're listening to.
Yeah. I'll talk to you about this off mic, but this week we should drop the episode with Leslie and I did of the bonus episode. That's going to be our donors only. The first one is going to come out on this feed. I'm crossing my fingers this coming week, Hammett.
I will get on it this weekend.
You have the computer?
Yes.
And you said patreon.com/friendlyatheist. Yeah. So we want to incorporate more listener mail.
Send it along.
Yeah, so send it to friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail.com. We'll answer probably around one a week. And yeah, probably let us know if you want to use your name or specifically not use your name, because that's probably something we should be.
Send us a fake name. We'll never know.
Yeah. Do a fake email.
Yes.
That's really mysterious.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you
We'll talk
for
to you
listening.
next
See you next
week.
week. Bye.